Hi, this is Dr. Swapna and I welcome you to your Learn Lab. If you are an IGNOU student looking for help in your studies, then you have reached the right place. Here, we have lecture videos on different core and elective subjects of important IGNOU courses. We aim to help you ace your exams. So hit subscribe to our channel and as you watch, make sure to like and share too. Come and join me on this beautiful learning journey.
Today we are on Unit 10 and this is the final unit of this block and it is titled Preparation of Research Proposal and Report Writing. And in this session we'll learn what research proposals are, why they are important and how to prepare them. We'll also see how to write research reports in a very structured way so that your findings are communicated effectively to others. Here's what we aim to achieve today. So we would be understanding the meaning and importance of research proposals and reports. We'll also learn the purpose of preparing research proposals, the steps that is involved, and we'll also go through the steps involved in writing a psychological research report, the structure and format involved in it. And by the end of all of this, you'll see that the proposals and reports are not just formalities. They are what make the the backbone of a good research practice. Let's look at now the meaning and concept of research. So, when you think about research, it doesn't end with data collection or analysis. That is what we have been studying till now, right? How to identify a sample, how to collect the data, how to analyze it. We studied the quantitative methods and qualitative methods, right? So, the research doesn't end there. The final and the equally important step is presenting your work to others so that they can, benefit from it. In the end, that's the goal of the research, right? To be beneficial. So we have two of the important documents which form the part of the whole research process. And the first is a research proposal. This is what you prepare before you do a research. It's a plan or a blueprint. This is also something that you're going to submit if you're seeking funding for your work, if you're seeking external funding, right? And then the second one, a research report. This is what you prepare after you complete your study. It's the record of what exactly you have done, how you have done it, and what is your inferences or what are the results that you have come out with. Okay, so this unit will show you how to handle both these parts with clarity. Now let's go back for a moment and revisit what research really is, right? So research is a systematic and scientific study of a problem or a question, right? So you take a broad issue, narrow it into a clear question, and then design a way to find the answer, right? For example, instead of just asking, why are students stressed? A researcher may ask, does lack of sleep contribute to academic stress among college students? Right? This is now an answerable question that can be scientifically investigated. So, a researcher basically converts any problems into answerable questions. And a psychological research seeks to understand human behavior, the various aspects of the human behavior, right? So, why do we perform a psychological research? What is the purpose of a psychological research? So, in psychology, research has a very few clear purposes. First of all, to study human thoughts, feelings, and behaviors systematically, right? Secondly, to distinguish between what we call normal and abnormal patterns of behavior, right? Thirdly, to develop categories and diagnosis or theories that will help us to understand human experiences in a better way. All right. And finally, to find interventions and solutions that can improve people's lives. For example, research on depression not only describes the symptoms but also suggests therapies and coping strategies to solve that case of depression. So that is why psychological research is of very important to study human behavior, right? So these are the basic purposes of psychological research. Now let's talk about research proposal or about preparation of a research proposal. A research proposal is like your research plan or a blueprint. It explains what you want to do and why it is important and how you're going to plan, how you're planning to do it. So the objective of the whole research proposal is to justify the importance of research and the methods that are used. So as I told you, in case you want to submit your proposal for external funding, the person who's going to judge whether your work should be funded or not should be able to get a very clear idea about the importance of the whole thing that you're going to do and how effective your methodology is going to be, right? Only then they'll be convinced to give you the money, right? So research proposal is a very important part of your whole research process. Now, there are three big questions a proposal must answer, right? The first of it is what? What is the whole research about, right? What are you going to do the study on? Okay. Secondly, why? Why is it important to study the problem? Like, there are so many issues and problems around your world, but you have chosen a particular study. And why is it that you should be allowed to do that, right? Or why is it important to study this problem basically? And thirdly, how? Or how are you going to conduct the study? What is your sample going to be? What are the different techniques you're going to use to collect the data or maybe analyze the data? And how do you plan to, apply the whole thing? So that's the how of the research. So a research proposal should clearly give you the answers to these three big questions. What, why, and how of the research, right? And to make it simple, researchers often use the 6 P's. So the 6 P's stand for project, person, preparation, place, passion, and precision. So the first, project. Project means why should anyone invest in the study? Not just anyone, why should even you invest in the study? Right? That is project. Secondly, person. Why are you the right person to do it? You might have a very good plan, very good idea, everything, fine. But why do you think you were the best person to do this research? That's the second P. Alright? Third is preparation. What background training do you already have? How prepared you are to be able of, to be capable of doing this particular study. Right? That is preparation. Fourth, place. Why are you doing the study in this particular setting or institution? What is the relevance of this particular place that you have chosen to conduct your study? And the next is passion. Do you show genuine interest in this topic or not? Are you actually passionate about this topic? Or is there any other intent behind you doing this whole study? Right? So that's passion. And finally, precision. Is your plan clear, time bound, and realistic? Right? If you don't have a clear plan, if it is not time bound, and if it's not realistic, so this is going to be a total waste of money, resources, and time. Right? So these 6 P's are, a very potential questions that you should be asking, that anyone should be asking before they actually start a project, right? Why should anyone invest in this? Why am I the right person? What background training do I already have? Or why am I doing the study in this particular place or setting? Do I have genuine interest and passion in this project? And is my plan clear, time bound, and realistic? So if you answer all these questions, then it would be easy for you to project that in your research proposal to convince anybody who is reading this report, right? So your research proposal, in short, should be original, feasible, contextual, rational, and above all, beneficial. All right? So this is what is the research proposal is all about. Let's now look at the qualities of a good research proposal. So a strong research proposal has some key qualities, and they are, first of all, they have to be original. This means the research should address a question that has not already been fully answered. It shouldn't be that someone has already done something and I'm going to go and repeat the whole thing again, right? That is a potential repetition. That's not my original work. It was someone else's idea that I'm copying, right? So it should not be that case. A research should be original, which means it should be addressing a question that has not been fully answered or studied by someone else before you or before me, right? Secondly, feasible, which means the whole research idea should be practical, it should be realistic, and in terms of money, time and resources, this should be feasible, right? That is being realistic with respect to scope and the resources. All right. Thirdly, it should be contextual, which means it should reconnect with past studies and show how your work fits into the bigger picture. So it should be relevant in terms of the context, which means whatever topic you have studied, some part of it might already have been studied by others, or maybe some related part might have been already done by others. So what you are choosing should not be a copy of it, but it should be an extension of it, and it should fit into the bigger picture, right? So it should complement the already existing studies and give more clarity on the whole thing, right? So that is being contextually relevant. And then fourth, we have rational. So the research should highlight the existing gaps or issues in knowledge, right? So it should justify why exactly you are doing it, because there is already existing issues and gaps in the study that have already been conducted. So you're finding a novel way or a new approach to find answers to those solutions, those questions, right? That is the meaning of being rational. And next, it should benefit. It should benefit who? It should benefit the society. So your research should show how the study will contribute to society, theory, or even practice, right? So it should have societal or academic impact. And finally, it should reflect your ownership and passion, because a motivated researcher produces a better work always. All right. So these are the 6 important qualities that any good research proposal should have. It should be original, it should be feasible, it should be contextually relevant, it should be rational, it should benefit the society and academics, and it should show the passion and ownership of the researcher. All right. So those are the qualities of a good research proposal. So now let's move on to the research report. We know that what is research proposal, right? So proposal is something that you're going to prepare before you actually start your research, right? And we have already covered this topic in detail in the initial videos on how to prepare a plan or a blueprint for the research. Okay. Now coming to research report writing. So once you finish your study, your findings need to be shared with others. And a research report is that formal written record. Okay, so it serves 3 purposes basically. It communicates what you did and what you found. So it acts as a communication of research outcomes. All right. Secondly, it allows others to evaluate and build upon your work. Right. And thirdly, it preserves your study for future reference. So what did we say? First of all, it acts as a communication of your research outcomes. Secondly, it needs a clear presentation for utility. What is the utility? So that others can evaluate and build upon your work. Thirdly, it should preserve your study for future references. So because of all this, it requires systematic and careful writing. So even if you do excellent research, and if you don't present it properly, it won't have much impact. Okay, it will just end up in another cupboard in a library or in a shelf at your home, and you don't want that with your research, right? In the end, we want it to be beneficial and we want it to be applicable. So writing a clear, well-structured report is very important. All right. Now let's come to the actual format of a research report. So as I already told you, when writing a research report, presentation is very important, just like the research itself. So a well-structured format helps readers easily understand what you did, why you did it, and what you found, and what is the use of all that you have done, right? So broadly, a research report has 3 parts. Okay, the first one is called the formality section. The second one is the main report, and the third one is the end matter. We'll go through each of these in detail. So the first, the formality section. This is the opening part of the report. So it creates the first impression. And though it may seem simple, it's very important. So it's basically the face of the whole of your research report. So it includes, first of all, the cover page, right? This is like the book's cover page. So if you ever go for shopping, for buying books, you know that the cover page of the book is what, decides whether you're going to buy it or not. Even if you take a second look at the book, right? So the design of the cover page is always very important and something that attracts, that's a primary attractant for any reader. So the cover page of a research report is also like a book's face. So it usually contains the title of the research, the researcher's name, the institution from where the researcher is performing this research, and the date when you have done this. So for example, if you are performing a research on, say, the impact of sleep, so your title page will have the whole title of your study, which could be something like the impact of sleep on academic stress among college students. Below that, there would be your name, that this study was done by so-and-so for or from this so-and-so institute under the guidance of so-and-so person, and then the name of the university and all of those address and all. And finally, it will also have the year or the date when you have done it. Right? So that's the cover page. And then comes the title page. This is very similar to the cover page, but this is more formal. Okay. It often includes your supervisor's name, department, and the course requirements. Okay. So very similar, but this is more formal. The cover page would be more, less formal. You could use colors as you wish here in this case. After the title page, it will also have something called a statement or declaration. So there would be a statement or declaration. What is this? So this is, at times required based on the format that is being followed by the institution that we are doing the research. So this is a short declaration that says that the work is original and completed by the researcher. Okay, and this would be signed by the researcher, right? And this is not mandatory, but yeah, this is also part of the format. And then next would be acknowledgements. This is where the researcher thanks the people who helped them to perform the whole study. This might include the guides, mentors, institution, family members, and even friends. Okay, so that is acknowledgement, that is the thanking part. And then there would be index or table of contents. So beside this, there would be index or the table of contents. And this lists the sections the different sections in your report with page numbers, so that anybody who's taking your report to read can quickly navigate through the sections. All right. Then you have the list of tables and figures. So if you have used charts, tables or diagrams, they would be listed in this section for quick reference. So you will have the title of the table and the page number. If it is a figure, you will have the title of the figure and the page number where you can find it. All right. And then after that, you will have a preface or a forwarding note. This is a very short note from the researcher giving context or motivation for doing the study. So this formality part, it will have a cover page, it will have a title page, it will have a statement or declaration, it will have acknowledgement, it will have index, it will have list of tables and figures. It will also have a preface or a forwarding note, and then finally it will have a summary report. The summary report is also called the abstract. All right. So this is a brief overview of the entire research, the problem, methods, main findings and conclusions. Everything in a small single paragraph. Think of this as a trailer for your study. Something a reader can scan through quickly and get the gist of your work. Okay. So that is summary report or abstract. That pretty much covers the first part, which is the formality part. Right? Coming to the main part now, which is the main report. This is the core of your research report. This is where your work is explained in detail. Okay, and the structure is going to follow these steps. First of all, you will have an introduction, right? This is the part which sets the stage. Here you're going to introduce the topic, explain why it's important, and outline the objectives of your study. For example, if your topic is stress among students, you explain why this problem matters, right? Why this should be studied in the first place. And that is introduction. All right? Introduction would be followed by objectives. Now, we know what is objective, right? We have been going through all of these terms all throughout this subject, right? So, objective is a clear statement of what you aim to find out. For example, to examine the relationship between sleep hours and stress levels among college students. This is a very clear and concise objective, which is going to tell the reader what exactly you have done in the study, right? So that is objective. Next comes the problem statement. This defines the research problem clearly. It tells the reader, why am I doing this? What was the gap or issue that I'm trying to address or fix? If someone has already done this, what was the missing information that you are aiming to fill in? That is the problem statement. Okay. And next comes the most important part, which is the literature review. All right. So this is a summary of previous studies which is related to your topic. This shows that you have studied the field. You have done extensive research, literature research, and are building on existing knowledge and not working in isolation. So you have a good idea about who has done what kind of research in the field that you are trying to explore. After that, we have the methodology. So in methodology, this section explains how you carried out the research. And this includes details of your sample, who were the participants, what were the tools that you used, like what questionnaires or what assessments or tests or measures did you use, and the procedure. What exactly did you conduct what exactly were the steps that you used to conduct the study, right? This section is very crucial also because it allows others to replicate your study if they wish to. If somebody wants to check whether whatever you have done is replicable or not, whether this is authentic or not, they may choose to try it on their own, right? So you should have a clear sequence of steps, what you have done, how you have done, so that anybody can perform the same research and get a similar result. Only then your research is going to be valid, right? So yeah, this was methodology section, which has the sample, tools, and procedure. Right? And then the next is data interpretation and analysis. Okay, so here you're going to present the results. You are going to use tables, graphs, and statistical tests to make the findings clear. But something to remember here is that it's not just numbers. You also have to explain what the results mean using words. Okay, so that is data interpretation and analysis. Then finally, you have conclusions and suggestions. So, based on your analysis, you have to present here what are the conclusions that can be drawn and what recommendations or practical suggestions that can be made based on the results. For example, if you find that the sleep significantly reduces stress, you might suggest awareness programs on sleep hygiene for students, or maybe you can even suggest steps that someone can follow for better sleep hygiene. Right? So this is conclusion and suggestions, what you are concluding and what you are suggesting as a measure or as a solution to the problem that you just studied. Right? And then you also have in this section delimitations, or maybe we can say limitations. All right? So as the name suggests, every study has its boundaries. In this section, you are going to explain what you could not cover. Maybe due to time, maybe due to lack of resources, or maybe due to, insufficient sample size you could get. So being honest about limitations actually strengthens your credibility. So it's always good to include limitations in the research report. All right? And then what we have is citations and references in text. All right. So as you write, you will include the citations to show where you borrowed ideas or data from. I mean, if you have used someone's work to perform the study or to take ideas from, you will be including all of that here. All right. So this prevents any plagiarism or acknowledges the work which were done by other scholars. All right. And then finally we have the appendices. What is an appendix? It's the extra information that would clutter the main text if placed in the middle of the whole report, right? So what you do is you will club all of that, put it at the end of the research. For example, copies of questionnaires or raw data sheets or detailed statistical tables. All of those things you would be adding as appendix and at the end of your research study. All right. Then that was the main report part, which is the main body of the whole research report. And finally, we have the last part or the end matter. This section usually has references and bibliography. So references means it's a detailed list of all the books, articles, websites and materials that you have cited in your report. It must follow a specific style or format. Like there are different formats, you may go and check it out. I mean, there's something called APA format, then something called Chicago format, and then something called MLA format. These are just simply formats of how you write the reference. Some of it has the author's name first, so some of it might have the title of the study first, right? So it's simply a matter of format. And then finally the bibliography, or this is also sometimes included, and this lists not only the work cited, but also other sources you consulted while preparing your study, maybe some websites or maybe any other source. Okay, so that is basically references and bibliography. Together, the references and bibliographies gives your work all the credibility it will need and guide readers who want to explore the topic further. So this is, in short, the format of a research report, right? This is not much difficult to understand, so maybe you can give it a read on your own, right? So yeah. So as you see, the format of a research report is not just about filling sections, right? It's about telling a clear, logical and complete story of your research. Think of it as guiding your reader step by step, from why you started, how you did it and what you found, and above all, why it matters. So let's see, why is report writing so significant? Why? Because it helps to communicate findings clearly to others. It provides guidance for future policies, intervention or studies. And then it preserves your knowledge for the next generation of researchers. And it also strengthens your credibility as a scholar. So in short, a research report turns your work from a report into a public knowledge. All right. Here are some of the tips for making a good research report. First of all, be clear, concise, and well organized. It should be in a smooth flow and logically organized, right? Use proper citations and references to give credit to anyone who for your study. It could be just an idea or maybe a data or maybe any information. Should properly cite any material that you have used, right? Then avoid jargons, make it readable. Means you should not be using limbos and maybe colloquial languages or jargons. You should use words which are commonly understood by everyone, and your report should be readable. Then you need to ensure the accuracy of the data and the analysis that you have done. And then you should write in a logical flow and coherence. Write in a way that's readable, so even someone outside your field can follow the main points that you want to make, right? So a good report is not just about what you write, but also how you write it. So, to summarize, a research proposal explains why and how a study should be done. This is something that you prepare at the beginning of your study. And a research report is generally prepared at the end of your study, and it communicates what has been done and what was found, right? And both of these require clarity, structure, and academic rigor. And together they are going to ensure that your research makes a lasting impact and find its benefit, right? So now let's look at the previous year questions. So in June 2023, we had this 10 marks question. Explain the format for writing a research report, right? Then in June 2022, we had describe the meaning and purpose of psychological research. Explain the process of preparing a research proposal. So yeah, we have already covered this part in one of your previous videos, and we have covered this part in the current video. And finally, in December 2022, we had another question. Describe the format of a research report. So this topic is, pretty much something that you can easily write about, you can easily understand about. So that's exactly why I didn't go much detail into this topic. So I suggest you go and read back your study material so that you will have a better idea of, what all points you can include. I've given you main headings and main ideas about the whole thing, right? So yeah.
Thank you all for learning with me. If you found the video helpful, make sure you let me know by hitting the like button. Make sure you share the video with your friends too. Subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the new videos. You can reach me by simply dropping a comment. See you in the next one. Till then, happy learning.